So the talk of the town is Pam Bondi and how Trump fired her. And they're saying the reason why Trump fired her is because she's not going hard after his enemies in regard of the Epstein files and I believe just in general. But what a lot of the ignorant don't know, what a lot of the average Americans don't know is that you had a lot of important people on Sex Island, meaning hanging out with Jeff Epstein and freaking off with Jeff Epstein. And what I always preach is that America is the new Rome that will be destroyed by Christ through the power and grace of the Most High. But most people don't believe that there's a supernatural power on the left-hand side, meaning Satan's side, when you touch children in an inappropriate, unspiritual, unrighteous way where you give yourselves over to the flesh through orgies and even murder and child sacrifice. I believe that certain rituals are done to get power. I'm not saying that happened on Sex Island before I get a flag or a strike from YouTube. I'm not saying that. But I think you know what I believe, and I know what a lot of you wise brothers and sisters believe, considering you know scripture. When you read scriptures, you read about Pharaoh and his magicians, you read about the Babylonians and their witchcraft and their wicked doings. You definitely read about the Canaanites and what they did, and you read about child sacrifice. So these things, I believe, are done to get blessings and power from the devil. Let's check out what she has to say or what's being said. Let's check it out, because to me, you just got to connect the dots and you see where things are going, especially if you're in God. In our book, the book of Ephesians, it talks about spiritual powers in high places. And in order to reach these high places, you have to sacrifice your souls to the devil. It could be in entertainment, it could be in sports, it could be into politics, but you are not going to rub elbows with powerful men and women unless you give yourselves over to the devil. That's how it works, bottom line.
Who served on President Trump's defense team during his first impeachment trial.
So help me God.
As the U.S. Attorney General, she was a lightning rod.
You don't tell me.
No, I did tell you.
Repeatedly clashing with Democrats, but drawing praise from the president.
She's going to go down as a great attorney general. I may change my mind about that.
Still, last September, the president posted publicly on social media what an administration official says was intended to be a direct message to Bondi, pressuring her to prosecute his political opponents.
I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it.
She drew criticism from across the political spectrum for her handling of the Epstein files, including from inside the White House. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles telling Vanity Fair back in December that Bondi...
These are some evil, ugly-looking people. If you really look at them, and you don't have to look hard, but you could just see the evil in their eyes. You can see the evil in their mannerism. These are some evil, evil people that God has put on this planet, and they run the world. It's not hard to believe that they are influenced and controlled by Satan. It's not hard.
He, quote, whiffed the release. At one point, Bondi claimed the DOJ had the late sex offender's client list.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
But later, reversing course.
Our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list.
Congress recently subpoenaed Bondi to testify about the Epstein investigation.
We got to ensure that the truth with this investigation still gets out.
The family of Epstein accuser, the late Virginia Giuffre, writing in a statement, "We hope she has the courage to testify and actually do right by survivors this time." There was also a significant shakeup at the Pentagon overnight. 3 U.S. officials tell NBC News that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth just fired 3 Army generals. Among them, Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, who had been a top advisor to Biden Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Craig?
Gabe Gutierrez starting us off there at the White House. Gabe, thank you. For more now on the cabinet shakeup. And
you cannot climb that ladder unless you give your souls over to the devil. Bottom line, you can't. It's impossible. Because it's ran by Satan. The whole system is corrupt. Yet, our people, as well as the general public, believes in the system. They trust in the system, which is absolutely insane. It's insane to trust in the system. It makes no sense to be that stupid. But, that's where we as believers jump off the highway and bear right to the exit that leads to righteousness and following God and seeing things for what they really are. Bottom line. Here it says right here in this article, it says, after the release of the Epstein files, why have there been so few arrests? And we know the answer to that. It's because these people are well connected. They're well connected. They're into things like sex slaves and being a Chester, you know what I mean, a pedo. It gives them power from Satan. This is what this is. This is not anything new. This is how it's always been. But because the general public is ignorant and they don't understand the history of super powerful men in secret societies, they just think that this is a fly by night evil that men and women too get caught up into. It says in in the more than 2 months since the Department of Justice released its latest batch of files on the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, prosecutors have not brought any new charges. Prosecutors have not brought any new charges based on the documents, despite federal lawmakers on both sides of the aisles continuing to demand accountability. Why is that? Because they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt and they're jockeying for money and power. Bottom line. They're all corrupt and they're jockeying for money and power. And it's not going to end. It's not going to end till who we call Yahushua, who the world knows as Christ, comes back and totally destroys this place. It's not going to change. It says the more than 3 million pages of documents, including accusations by alleged victims. You got victims, alleged victims of Epstein and Ghislaine, that's how you pronounce the name, I'm sorry. Maxwell abused the thousands of emails. Abused the thousands of emails and photos showing Epstein associated with prominent figures. Who are these prominent figures? These are powerful men and women. The more than 3 million pages of documents, including accusations by alleged victims of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, abused, and thousands of emails and photos. They got photos showing Epstein's associated with prominent figures. The files indicate that many of these people maintain contact with the disgraced financier long after he pleaded guilty in 2008 to sex crimes that involve minors. Appearing in the files is not necessarily an indication of criminal wrongdoing. They can dig deep and find the evil of these important men and women easily. See, the media is controlled by the super elite as well. And they have the power to release the proof of these important individuals who have committed themselves to pedo, who have committed themselves to, I believe, murder, who have committed themselves to all types of sexually deviant behavior. And you know what I mean exactly. But I don't think this is just men and women following their urges and lusts. That's part of it, but I believe that a lot of this is based on rituals. The powers that be, they indulge into rituals. You understand? And they keep it a secret, but how long can they keep it a secret when God's prophecies are manifesting themselves? How long do you think that this can really stay a secret? I don't think it can stay a secret, but so long. I think after a while, what's in the dark, God is going to bring it to the light. And that has America as well as other countries crumbling. Here it says secret societies have flourished throughout history and count founding fathers and royals among the ranks. See that? So this is not a new thing. This has always been around. From the founding fathers to the royal families in the UK. You just had one of the royal family members outed. Even he got a spank on the wrist. He was shamed, but they never go into the specifics of who he touched and how far he went. But he should be in jail. But notice how nobody is going to jail. Because these people are too big to fall, that's one. And a lot of these things are done based on rituals. It gives them power to touch children. It gives them power to sacrifice adults as well as children, or to be in a sexual frenzy in rituals that are against God. Members, most often men, have been tapped to join the Knights Templar, the Freemasons, the Bavarian Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and Bilderberg. The lore of secret societies is part mystery, part legend. I believe that this is very real. Conspiracy theories have surrounded them for centuries, with rumors of groups like the Illuminati being linked to sorry to read this. Illuminati being linked to everything from the French Revolution to the assassination of JFK. But it is important to separate fact from fiction. See, but they're going to make it seem like it's just fiction. Then it goes into the different groups. I don't want to go into that. It just goes into that. But I'm just simply trying to show you just how real this is, and sex is a major part of it. I believe once you give yourself over to someone sexually, you cross the lines with God versus Satan. And you open yourselves up to Satan once you submit yourselves to deviant sexual behavior. You understand what I'm saying? I definitely believe that. And I believe that if you cross over to the demonic side, there's blessings and gifts you get from the devil. I believe the same way the Most High can give gifts and positions of power, the devil, Most High's will, can offer and give those same things. I do believe that. So sexual rituals in history have served as sacred, social, and reproductive mechanisms, often designed to connect, check this out, often designed to connect with the divine. Which divine? The devil. The devil. I believe that blood sacrifices connect you with the divine as well, the devil. I believe that orgies, depending on the level or the tier that you give yourselves over to sexually, connects you with the divine, the devil as well. Then you got it on a low level with music, entertainment, and how you conduct yourself in society. You can connect with the devil on those levels as well. Basic witchcraft and obia and different things you see, possibly in the Caribbean, possibly in Europe, possibly in your towns. I believe these are tools and devices that connect you with the devil. The same way on the other side, prayer, fasting, keeping the high holy days, these connect you with the Father. It's all about submission and who you give your spirit over to. And the more you give, the more you're blessed with or cursed with. Again, it says sexual rituals in history have served as sacred social reproductive mechanism, often designed to connect with the divine, ensure agricultural fertility, or manage social structures. These practices range from organized religious or sacred sex to developmental initiation and later occult sex magic designed for spiritual or personal empowerment. Check that out. These practices range from organized religious or sacred sex to developmental initiations and later occult sex magic designed for spiritual or personal empowerment. You see that? So nothing is by chance. Everything is based on serving God or serving the devil. You can serve God or you can serve the devil. It's not that complicated. We make it complicated, or in certain cases, we have been deceived to believe what the media pumps in our heads, what the common herd pumps into our heads. But these are serious times where you have to make serious decisions whether you're going to serve God or you're going to serve the devil. Like in our book tells us, you can't serve two gods. You either serve the devil or you serve God. You can't drink of the cup of righteousness or the cup of evil. You have to pick and choose which cup you will spiritually drink from. And a lot of people, because it's easier and more popular, choose to bow down to the devil. It's just that simple.